Republican Party. Chris picks it up from New York. I'll see you in a couple hours.
The great state of Iowa proudly cast all of its 40 votes for President Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump. Donald John Trump. President Donald J. Trump. And J.D. Vance.
Donald Trump nominated at the Republican National Convention today. I'm Chris Cuomo. Thank you for being with me. What a weekend. We dodged a bullet. Imagine where we would be if that shooter aimed just a hair differently. So, now what? I don't know about you, but I promise I'm not going to add to all the virtue signaling going on. I don't have any moral high ground. And I'm not going to tell you what to think or what to feel. There's too much of that. Frankly, it's an ingredient in how we got here, how we got to Saturday. So let me just talk about me. I was really frightened when I watched Trump and the other victims get shot. I don't know how anybody could feel any different way. I heard about it. I was fishing miles offshore, raced to get back to the studio, and I wasn't even sure why. It was Saturday, NewsNation had it fully covered, but I was so worried that we were going to come apart. I ate 4 ice cream sandwiches, Oreo vanilla sprinkle from Carvel. Pure nervous energy, pure desire for succor, S-U-C-C-O-R, everything to be okay. My fear was that, God forbid, if Trump were gravely wounded, it would be a signal to an outraged minority, people who've been buying and being sold an ever darker, scarier version of reality. And once that began, who knows? Now, people say, who knows? This is America, not Egypt. Do you ever think that maybe we give ourselves way too much credit for being civilized? For treating what we have as being unbreakable? And that maybe that's why we abuse each other? Our institutions, our democracy, everything, like a bunch of chimps on a jungle gym? I think our politics are consumed with messing with what matters. Now, I say our politics and not just that we are, because I don't believe that about us. I believe that our politics and social media are exaggerations for effect, political effect. But for me, it's gone too far, and I don't want to be part of it anymore. Now, I'm not saying that people who are complaining don't have real problems. The frustration is real, the pain is real, the disaffection is real, the outrage is real, the fear is real. But I believe that Saturday was a final judgment that playing to the fringes has to stop. It will fix nothing. All you get playing to the fringes is what we just witnessed. This election features the 2 weakest choices for president, just looking at the poll numbers. But Trump's popular. Less than 4 in 10 think he can be believed. 3 in 4 believe Biden's too old. The weakest choices by design, thanks to the 2-party system that's only about a battle to the bottom. They don't care how good their product is, just that the other is worse. This election has some of the most extreme rhetoric by design. The Democrats see Trump as a determined dictator, all the Hitler, all the Nazi. He's at once incompetent, yet to be feared that he could marshal the forces necessary to destroy the democracy. Biden was just asked in yet another gentle interview with NBC about saying to put Trump in a bullseye. He said he shouldn't have used that term. Now, look, I don't think President Biden is the main culprit in our war of angry words, okay? It's odd for NBC to be asking President Biden about the kind of talk he uses when they just canceled their morning cable show for this morning, reportedly for fear of the toxicity that show puts out every morning. Why not interview your own people? The response from the right to the Democrats to complaints about Trump is basically, no, you are, doubling down that it's the Democrats that are the destroyers. force-feeding a third or so of the country a nightmare that the left is all the boogeymen, making your kids deviants, using government to destroy all who fail to yield like Trump. Sure, I report on it. I pick holes in it. I debate it with the widest array of thinkers that we can find, that I think you can find on cable. But be clear, I don't believe either side because I know they're playing a game. It is a BS game that has gotten way too dangerous and only benefits the parties, their players, and the chattering class. We need to take this, no, I need to take this moment to say what I believe is true. We are still the envy of the world in every way except our politics. Paralyzed and polarized, I heard an international expert put it. Man, is that shameful, but true. We are paralyzed because we are polarized. I think Saturday created an opportunity. Thank God. People are saying this image is the new American memento mori, the reminder that you could die, that life is precious, the reminder of our struggle and determination in an existential battle. I disagree. I believe it is a cautionary tale of the price of poison politics. I thought Trump was so brave with how he handled it, pumping his fist, raising his head when he couldn't know what was waiting for him out there. That was brave. What do we do now? Trump has an amazing chance to reset his reach. Literally took a headshot, unbowed, and he could have a new pitch that appeals to the many instead of the few. I mean, if getting shot in the head doesn't make you think and give you a change in perspective, what would? What easier rationale for him to shift and change? Who better to say that we have to change than the man who was just victimized, a man known for stoking the flames? I was hoping he would contact the shooter's father and try to understand the shooter's mistakes and talk to us about what we need to learn. Instead, he chose Senator J.D. Vance. It's a nod to the same old, an echo of nationalist harshness. Vance's statements since Saturday are among the most absurd and conspiratorial. And yes, I could show you all the horrible things he said about Trump, but that doesn't make him special. I could show you that he came in originally as an explainer with hillbilly elegy, where he was not like that. Now that's all he is. It is exactly what we don't need more of, but that's Trump's choice. Forget Project 2025. You know what we need to bring back? DJT 100. You know what that is? Maybe you did and you forgot. It was the first major initiative of Trump's original term. It was something called DJT 100. Donald John Trump, 100% approval. Jared Kushner was supposed to head it up. It was an effort to make Trump popular with everyone. That was like going to be their signature thing. That's what he wanted to try. Of course, he abandoned it, doubling down on the divisiveness, and then he was fighting for his life. But now he could bring it back. Imagine him coming out and saying, hey, I just took one in the head. No more division. I want to get more legislation done than anyone. I'm a fixer, not just someone who says constantly that the fix is in. Now, we'll know soon if he has any of this in him. If he doesn't, then there's an opportunity in this moment for Democrats. You got to give the first nod to Trump. He is the one who survived this. He is the victim. He is the one with the focus. Stopping Trump is not enough. He is not scarier to a lot of people than they are. That's why this race is so close. People need to be sold something better than they're worse. And this is a moment to do it. The media has a role as well. What do we referee? What do we call out? What do we ignore? It's not always easy. We get it wrong a lot. I know I do. I applaud MSNBC for pulling their morning show today. It's basically an attack dog sicked on the right. Doesn't matter that the host was once a righty. That guy stuck his nose as far up Trump's keister as he could during the election. I know, I was competing against him at the time. Beat his ass twice, too. MSNBC pulled Morning Joe. Reportedly, they were worried that one or all would say something to make the situation worse. Think about that. Think about what an interesting thing for NBC to do, to acknowledge that. Now you got to ask, well, how do you put it back on unless they come back on and say that they're going to change? Now, look, I don't have any control over MSNBC, and I'm not player hating. They're an amazing organization. They do great things. I don't have any control over any outlet or even what happens at NewsNation except when I'm on television. But I'm telling you this, and you can hold me to it. This moment has affected how I see that purpose and what I think matters right now. And I think I have a role in that. And I'm going to keep calling out the game because it almost got somebody killed. And I don't think we've seen the last of the ugliness. And I know that it's a worthy battle, not just because it's a righteous purpose, but because we are not that shooter. We are not the manifestations of our worst citizens. We are not some magnified minority on social media that gets blown up by a lazy mainstream media. This country is filled with people who live their faith, love mercy, show forgiveness, allow mistakes, fail, forgive, try again, see the best, find solutions, deal with adversity, share strength. That's why we are the envy of the world, because of what this country has managed and imagines, bound only by the mutual respect for opportunity and freedom. We have nothing else holding us together here. We are not type, creed, color. We are everything that's supposed to be a challenge. We are not threatened by some boogeyman or hidden conspiratorial agency. The enemy is us in the manifestation of exaggerating our worst selves. We're seeing it. We're seeing it in our politics. That's why you can't understand what's happening. That's why it doesn't make any sense. That's why you keep saying, what, why, how, what is going on? I know, I hear you. I hear you. It's because this isn't reality. It's an exaggerated form of it for effect, just to position the parties. And it literally almost got Trump killed. And if both sides don't change, there is no change. And if the media and the players in it don't change, then there is no change. And if you don't demand the change and reward the people who change the right way and stop allowing us to treat it like a football game, we're going to see what we saw Saturday again. That's my fear. And I know what I can do, and I'm going to do it. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you how to think. I'm not telling you how to feel. But I was shook by what happened. And now you know. And you'll be able to see what it meant to me going forward. I am very glad to see that the RNC nominated Donald Trump. Not because I love his policies, not because I love what I think he's going to do with his policies, not because I love how he conducts himself or how he's treated me or my family, but because he has every right to be alive and making his case to the American people in a country that allows the best ideas to win. So Donald Trump is the RNC choice. He named his VP choice the senator from Ohio, J.D. Vance, one of Trump's fiercest critics, now a MAGA convert. Hard to see it as more than convenience. But what does this moment mean to the Speaker of the House? You talk about power. You talk about a place in this moment. Who better than he? The Speaker of the House is with us, Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson. Hey, Mike, thank you for taking the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
One nation. Hey, it's great to be with you, my friend.
Speaker, let's get deep just for 1 second. Do you feel where I'm coming from in terms of what a God forbid we avoided on Saturday and where you and I could be now if it had gone just a little bit differently?
Yes, we were centimeters away from a very different moment in American history, and it's really frightening. I think it got the attention of the country. I think your monologue was right in so many ways in that really it made people pause and think, and it also made Donald J. Trump pause and think. I've spoken with him today about this whole ordeal. He knows and believes it was a miraculous thing that his life was spared. I mean, just a couple of centimeters different, and we'd be having a different story here. And he's taken that to heart. I mean, he's very sober-minded about the days ahead. And you saw him announce himself that his speech, the content and probably the tone of his speech that he was going to deliver here in just a couple of nights is now being changed. He sees this as a unifying moment for the country, and he believes he has a providential place in doing so. I'm really excited about the days ahead. I think we have tremendous opportunity, as you do, and I'm very optimistic about it.
First of all, Mr. Speaker, as I've told his guys who I've been in contact with the last couple of days, I tell you to pass along as well, please send my best to the former president and, of course, his family. I mean, I cannot believe how destabilizing this was. They're all adults, but he's got grandkids. I don't know what I would do if this was a member of my family. So the pushback to my position is this. Wake up. Politics is an ugly fight. That's what it is. We've got two parties. It's going to stay that way. And Mike Johnson has to stick with his own, or he's not going to be Speaker anymore. And this is the way it is. The tone can't change. Compromise is weakness. What do you say as Speaker of the House?
I say that we got to get back to the idea of being happy warriors. And in my party, I don't control anything in the other, of course, but I do have a leadership role in the House. And I believe that we have to meet that moment, that we have to respect the dignity of everyone around us. We don't have enemies in the building. We have political opponents. There's a big difference, right? When I was a freshman in Congress, Chris, I started the Honor and Civility Caucus in 2017. I came to Washington the same time Donald Trump did. And it was a tumultuous time. I mean, the politics are very divided. They have been since. But in the midst of that, we have to speak with clarity and conviction and consistency about our core principles of our country. One of those is the idea that we can disagree, but we do it in an agreeable manner. I pine for the days of Ronald Reagan. Remember, he and Tip O'Neill, the Democrat Speaker of the House, were famously very close friends. And right after the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan's life, Tip O'Neill was the first person to visit him in the hospital. They were that close because they could disagree on policy vehemently. I mean, they had vehement policy debates, but then they would have a beer together. You know, they were very close friends. We got to get back to that because that's one of the great things about our country, and I'm optimistic enough, hopeful enough, to believe that we can do that again.
You know, Speaker, you're probably too young to remember, but my father was one of the most outspoken critics of President Reagan. May they both rest in peace. I imagine what conversations they're having together right now. But you look back at his DNC keynote speech in 1984. It was the speech that defined his career, and it was going at Reagan's idea of America as a city on the hill, and he contrasted it with being a tale of two cities. You read that speech, there was not one personal slight. There was not one point of invective about how Republicans are bad or how Democrats are good. Things have changed. But here's the challenge for someone like you. How do you change it back when doing it this way works well, and messing with it and criticizing one of your own may get you primaried even as Speaker of the House?
Well, look, I try to model this every day, Chris. I mean, I stand for the founding principles of the country, the principles of our party, but I do it in an agreeable manner. I mean, we don't go after people personally, right? It's about ideas. It is a contest of ideas, just like your dad and Ronald Reagan knew. Ronald Reagan had an 11th commandment. You never say anything ill about a fellow Republican, but he pretty well lived that across the board because he believed in the vigorous debate, the vigorous disagreement on policy perspectives and objectives, but he didn't make it personal because he saw us all as Americans, part of one big family. That's what the shining city on a hill metaphor was all about, that America was great. Look, I believe in those principles. We're going to live it out every day. We're going to lead with that perspective. We're going to be happy warriors, and we're not going to hold grudges and keep records of wrongs. Look, iron sharpens iron. That's a biblical admonition, right? One man sharpens another. We're reminded. But it's the way you do that sets an example for the people that come behind us. And that's always been a guiding principle of mine, and it'll continue to be. And I think there are others. There are others in Congress. They don't get as much attention all the time. But there are people who still live by those principles, and we need more of them.
Speaker, you got an open invitation. I'm not going to go through particulars. I'm not here to test you tonight. I think we got to get on the same page, not because we're going to agree. That's not my job. My job is to hold power to account You always have an open invitation wherever I am to make the case to the American people. And when I test you, it's going to be on the basis of ideas. I promise it is not going to be a personal attack. We do not need any more of that.
Appreciate that, Chris. I look forward to debating anytime. I've always enjoyed that. Thanks so much.
Speaker, all the best to you. Stay safe. And I wish you all good things in the pursuit of the people.
Thank you, my friend.
All right. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Going to take a break. 4 minutes, 5 seconds. Cuomo's gone soft. There's nothing soft about me, my friends. I'm all edge. But the question is, what are you cutting against? What are you about? What are you for? What are you for? So how is this assassination attempt? And that's what it is. Why are you people saying that's not what it was and caving into some BS that you can't prove in any way? Did he miss an opportunity with his VP pick? O'Reilly and Geraldo Rivera together. Two great minds. One tough question.
On a call a week ago, you said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies.
President Biden, a couple of hours ago, responding to the NBC anchor Lester Holt, discussing his inflammatory rhetoric. I said in the last segment, and I'll say it again, I do not see President Biden as the main culprit in our ugly and poison politics. Does he add to it? Of course. I don't think he adds to it as much as MSNBC's morning show, which the same network took off the air this morning, reportedly for fear of what they may add to the situation. So why are they asking Biden about his role? Anyway, to the better minds, two of my mentors, what does this moment mean? What does Trump picking Vance mean? Bill O'Reilly and NewsNation correspondent at large, Geraldo Rivera. Big man, how do you process, well, I guess I call you both that. Bill, how do you process Saturday in terms of what it means? You're both big man to me. How do you process Saturday? And then we'll get to Vance.
Okay, first of all, a good shirt-tie combo. Your wife must have put that together for you. Excellent tonight for your visuals. When I did my special report on Saturday night for BillO'Reilly.com, I focused in on what I call the hate brigade. And I go back to Abraham Lincoln, who was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth, who hated Lincoln so much that Booth couldn't even speak his name. And he hated him because he felt that Abraham Lincoln promoted African Americans, like blacks. And Booth was whipped up by this crew that he hung with, and he shot Lincoln to death. So those who say that rhetoric can't lead to violence don't know what they're talking about. So we have hate brigades in this country, and most of them are in their basement hiding from reality, and they don't mean anything. We have major corporations like Comcast and Disney, though, who write checks to hate tours. And you pointed out Morning Joe. You could have just said The View as well. That's Disney, ABC. Those people spew hate. They make money doing it. And my thesis is that the American people should rally against that. We can all do something to tamp this hatred down. It's not about partisan politics. It's about wanting to destroy people with whom you disagree. And Biden said tonight that he doesn't traffic in violent language. That's not true. The President of the United States called Donald Trump a racist and a rapist. A racist and a rapist. You don't get more violent than that. That's the President of the United States. Now, Trump, absolutely all day long, will say things that he should not say. And I, like you, am hoping that he seizes the opportunity on Thursday to say to the American public, you know, I made mistakes, but I'm reining it in now. I'm going to be an issues-oriented guy. It's what I can do for you. That's what we're running on. If Donald Trump does that Thursday night, he wins, because Biden will never admit a mistake. He never has, never will. And Trump never has admitted a mistake. I wrote a book, United States of Trump. I can't find one time in his entire life that he admitted a mistake.
Geraldo?
You know, Chris and Bill, nice to see you both. I think that the thing to remember is that the line between an anecdote and a tragedy is like a centimeter wide. There, but for fortune, we would be having a much different, much darker conversation if that 20-year-old registered Republican bullied kid using his father's AR-15 had aimed just a little bit to the right, and President Trump and maybe future President Trump would have been dead, and we would be just bereft, and the nation would be at each other's throats. I absolutely disagree about the cancellation of Morning Joe today. What the hell is this? This is exactly the time where an opinion show has to stand up and be counted. What they have to say, what their opinions are. To think that they are afraid that they'll say something inappropriate, quote unquote. I hope they say things that are inappropriate. Talk radio, talk TV have been saying things that are inappropriate for decades. It's part of their tradition. Can't they police themselves? What do they have, Tourette's? I think it's really chicken shat thing to do to cancel the show. In terms of the tone, what made this kid do what he did.
Can I jump in here? All right, you got to show the most hateful network in the history of our republic is MSNBC. You got a morning show that consistently calls former President Trump a Nazi, calls him a Nazi. That's what you want to hear? That's discourse that you believe is noble?
What about all the talk radio? Bill, come on, Bill.
No,
Bill,
what
we've been
about?
around the block a few
times.
What
No,
about
what
talk
about?
radio?
You answer the question about MSNBC.
Hey, Bill.
My answer to the question is
MSNBC.
Hold on, fellas. Not tonight.
What about?
Okay?
Come on.
Hold on. Calm down. Bill, you're better than that. Look, J.D. Vance was just picked.
It's always what about. Deal with the issue. Both of you. Deal with the hate issue. Deal with it.
Bill, tone matters. Look, do you want to go back and forth? MSNBC versus Newsmax versus Fox and things that have been said. What difference does it make?
That's ridiculous.
It's about where you do what you do. But here's the point, Bill. It's what you do now and going forward. I have no problem with the marketplace of ideas and Geraldo wanting it all out there. I'm just saying it shows that MSNBC/NBC was aware that they have a problem on their hands. And we'll see what they do with it.
Okay, look.
Now, let me just get some.
It's not.
Go ahead, Bill.
No. A former president was almost murdered because of rhetoric like MSNBC spits out every day.
How do you know it's because of rhetoric?
It is.
How do you, Bill O'Reilly, know that? How do you know that it was because of rhetoric? Rhetoric's been around for as long as there's been language. There's been rhetoric. There's been opinions. People speak out.
You know, if
every time we heard Rush Limbaugh or somebody else, the late great,
again, here we go,
and we're motivated to great violence. What the hell kind of people would we be?
Go ahead, Bill.
It doesn't matter. We're dealing with the rise of hatred in our country, and the rise of hatred in our country is fueled by the media and the gutter snipes on social media. That's what fuels it.
How about the way
people
President Obama was treated?
These people.
How about what they said about President Obama? Come on, give me a break.
Here we go. You won't. You will not deal with the issue. It's always something else. Divert attention away. No,
he's talking about the same issue
in this country. His father's AR-15, a registered Republican. This kid never watched MSNBC. This murderous little punk.
The kid was emotionally disturbed. It doesn't matter whether he was a registered alien. He was emotionally disturbed, okay? But I'm talking to a larger picture.
I agree. That's why you can't blame Morning Joe for that.
Corporations. I'm not blaming Morning Joe. I'm blaming the corporations who hire people and pay them millions of dollars to hate every single day. That's what they do on MSNBC. That's what they do on The View, and it's appalling. And I don't want to hear what about. I want you to deal with that.
It's not an exhaustive list is what the point is, Bill. There are a lot of people who fit into the category that you just picked on digital media, on the side of cable, on radio. Listen, look, this is the only part I don't like, fellas, and I got to jump, and we didn't talk about Vance, but we'll take it up. We got a long way to go. You can't get hot about every point that you don't like, Bill. Geraldo and I love you, and you know it, and it doesn't matter how you talk to us because you're in our hearts. But we got to encourage people to just do it with this. More head.
No, I'm not like the zombie anchors, and neither is Rivera. We have passion here. We want to see the country get better. But if you keep evading the problem, if you keep whatabouting everything, nothing will get better. And I'm proud that I'm an Irish guy with some passion, all right? So that's where I'm coming from. I'm passionate.
You're a hothead.
Fine. I'm a hothead. I'm a smart hothead and an honest hothead.
You're smart.
And that's what you should
give all honor to President Trump, for the courage and defiance that he showed in the face of real adversity, knowing that his life was almost snuffed out by a punk. I mean, I think that let's keep the focus where it belongs on the hero of the day, Donald Trump.
I am very impressed on how he handled himself in that moment. I cannot believe how he has gotten back into the rhythm so quickly. I applaud that as long as it's the best thing for him. You know, I hope that he's processed this. We'll see how he behaves in public. And I just think that there's plenty of blame to go around. And the good news is the solution is as readily apparent. It's all about how you choose to be. And all three of us know